Hi, this is the video for A Good Kind of Trouble, and it's going to be chapters 1 through 5. The author of this book is Lisa Moore Ramy. I think I'm pronouncing her name right. And I'm going to start off on page 1. The first chapter is called First Slide. This is what it looks like. Please follow along as I read. The characters you're going to meet in this chapter are Shayla. She's the main character. Her science teacher, Mr. Levy. Her lab partner, Bernard. Her sister, Hannah. And her two best friends, Julia and Isabella. I'm allergic to trouble. It makes my hands itch. But today in science, when Mr. Levy starts calling out lab partner assignments, I don't even get the slightest tingle. I just sit there, barely breathing, waiting for him to assign me the perfect partner. He's been promising we'd start science labs since the first day of school. But it's been weeks. Lots of time for me to decide on the perfect partner. Mr. Levy has been teaching science at Emerson Junior High for centuries. And he looks like a mad scientist for real. He has wild, frizzy gray hair and even wears a lab coat every day. He fluffs his hair and adjusts his thick black glasses. I start rubbing my hands against my legs, which isn't a good sign, but I don't pay attention. Any second, he will get to my name. Shayla and Mr. Levy pauses a few seconds, like he's really thinking about it, like he doesn't already have the list in front of him. And Bernard, he says. No. And I mean no. This is the opposite of perfect. I sneak a peek behind him. Bernard sits in the back, slouching low in his seat. Junior high desks weren't made for Bernard. He's not kid-sized. He's grown-up sized. And grown-up big. He catches me looking at him, and his mouth shifts into a mean grimace. I gulp and look away. My sister, Hannah, would say that I'm just being like those people who take one look at a black person and think they need to clutch their purse tight or lock their car doors. I have no problem with Bernard being black, obviously. I'm black too. It's him being huge and mean and scary. Bernard went to the same elementary school as me and my best friends, Isabella and Julia. We're all terrified of him. Everyone I know is terrified of him. Even in kindergarten, he would scowl at everybody. And he'd yell a lot. In second grade, he yelled at me because I got into the Star Wars Legos before he did. He grabbed those stormtroopers right out of my hands, and if you have ever had someone snatch a Lego from you, you know how much it hurts. And he didn't even say sorry. I told him I needed the stormtroopers, but Bernard looked at me like he wouldn't have minded squashing me right underneath one of his big shoes. Bernard was a bully then, and he's a bully now. Please, oh please, don't let us be doing lab work today. Find your partners, everyone. Mr. Levy claps his hands together. I just bet partnering me with Bernard is some devious experiment. What happens if we mix trouble-hating girl with bully boy? Kaboom. That's what. Shayla, Bernard hollers. He sounds mad. I guess he's not happy we're partners either. I walk to the back of the room to the lab tables. My feet feel like they weigh 600 pounds. I got the first slide. Bernard's voice is like a bunch of bowling balls all being dropped at the same time. The glass in one of his big paws snaps in two. Oh, I say. He could probably snap one of my fingers just like that. Bernard shakes his hands and starts sucking his finger. I'm sure that's a bad idea. Mr. Levy comes over and sets some new slides next to our microscope. He doesn't even ask Bernard if he's okay. Bernard doesn't look okay. He looks angry, which is basically saying he looks like Bernard. Stop messing around, Mr. Levy tells Bernard. I wasn't, Bernard booms. Mr. Levy shakes his head and walks away. After that, Bernard won't even look in the microscope. He shoves the stack of slides at me, like it's my fault he broke the first one. The top slide has a tiny green-brown thing on it, and when I peer through the microscope, I can see it's a huge bug leg. I think it's from a grasshopper. And write some notes about it and try not to study Bernard. I don't know if I should say anything to him. I don't want to make him even more mad. When class is over, he gets up so fast he knocks his desk to the side, and instead of picking it up, he storms out of the room. You bet Mr. Levy frowns real hard at that. I pick up Bernard's desk before leaving class. Maybe since Mr. Levy didn't have to pick it up, no one will get in trouble. But my hands, they start to itch anyway. So we just met our main character, Shayla, and her very large bully type partner. My thought on this, though, is that Bernard feels a little bit picked on by life. That's my impression. I wonder what your impression is. Shayla definitely feels that he's a bully, and he has a reputation for being a bully. Now we're going to move on to chapter 2. It's called Triangle Friends. This chapter starts on page 5, so I'm on page 5 now. In this chapter, you're going to learn about Jace. You're also going to get to learn a little bit more about Julia and Isabella. We've had a break right after second period, and it's the first time of the day when I can meet up with Isabella and Julia. When we got our schedules on May's Day, we couldn't believe out of the 6 classes, we didn't even have one together. How is that even possible? I'm only in pre-algebra, but I'm pretty sure the odds of that have got to be crazy high. Only getting to see my friends at break and lunch is the worst. Some people think it's weird that I have 2 best friends. But who's your favorite, they'll ask. Who could pick between pizza and spaghetti? They're both the best. We make a great triangle. And 3 is actually a magic number. I learned that from the Schoolhouse Rock DVD video. We are all alike in everything that matters. We call ourselves the United Nations because Isabella is Puerto Rican and Julia is Japanese American. And then there's me. And yes, we know black isn't a nation, but we also know we are united. We've been friends since forever, but super best friends since 3rd grade. When we got partnered for a group project, each group was assigned a place in the world, and then they had to give a presentation like we were tour guides. We got Hawaii. And Mama bought fake palm trees and coconuts from the Dollar Tree, and Isabella's mom, who's a graphic designer, helped us make travel brochures. Isabella painted an amazing poster of a Hawaiian beach at sunset. Julia was really excited because she has a lot of family living in Hawaii. She brought in a whole bunch of shell necklaces and postcards and even a bottle full of sand from a Hawaiian beach. We've been united ever since. Every day at break, we meet behind the row of extra classrooms next to the multi-purpose room. Even though the buildings are called portables, I don't think they ever get moved once they're set down. Isabella is already there, claiming our spot right under the huge magnolia tree. But there's no sign of Julia yet. Isabella's t-shirt is a swirl of peach and rose with a hint of pale blue. It looks like a dawn sky. It's beautiful, and I'm immediately jealous. That's the cutest top, I say. When did you get it? Isabella looks down at herself as if she can't remember what she's wearing. It's just tie-dye. She stretches the material out, examining the colors. I was trying for a sort of ombre thing. It didn't exactly work. You made it? I'm about as close to squealing as I get. She shrugs. It was easy. You just have to be careful how you tie the rubber bands. Well, next time we do a tie-dye project, you are totally making mine, I say. You got it, Isabella says with a smile. Where's Jules? I ask. I can't wait to share my horrible science lab news, but I just can't say anything until it's the three of us. Isabella points, and I turn to see Julia running towards us. When she reaches us, she's all out of breath and plops down next to me and Isabella. She digs an apple out of her backpack. Sorry I'm late. Mr. Lee took forever handing back homework. What did you get? I ask. And Julia frowns at me. Grades really aren't her thing the way they are mine. I mean, she does fine, she just doesn't care. We all stretch out our legs, my long, skinny, dark brown ones next to Isabella's tan ones, next to Julia's much lighter ones. We're all wearing low-top black Converse. Julia's are really worn out, and Isabella's are splotched with purple paint. Mine look like they just came out of the box. I like things like that. Since break, it's only 12 minutes. We don't have time to waste, and we're already starting late. So I blurt out, "You'll never guess who my lab partner is." It's funny how even terrible news can be exciting to tell. Not that jerk who talked about your forehead, Julia asks and takes a huge bite of her apple. I put a hand over my forehead. On the very first day, in my very first class, there he was, Jace Hayward, with his cinnamon skin that's just a little lighter than mine, and those wide lime green eyes, and a grin as cool as lake water. I had told Julia and Isabella that this was the year that I was going to have a boyfriend. And when I saw Jace, I decided he was the one. If we had gotten partnered today, that would have been the first step. I probably should have told Julia and Isabella what Jace said about my forehead. Jace is not a jerk, I say. He was just being funny. Although it didn't feel funny at the time. He called me Jimmy Neutron. And if you've seen that old movie, you know calling me that wasn't any kind of a compliment. Jace said it pretty loud, and it made me feel like I swallowed a piece of coal while it was burning. It's true, I do have a really big forehead. There is exactly 4 inches of space between my eyebrows and my hairline. I know it's 4 inches because I measured it one day after hearing someone call me a 5-head. If you don't think 4 inches is a lot, go get a ruler and measure your own forehead. I bet you get a 2 or possibly a 3. If you hit 4, hey, I feel you. But I'm more than my forehead. Jace just needs to find out. Isabella holds up her fist like she might punch somebody. If he's mean to you again, we'll get him. She tightens her lips over her braces, trying to look tough. But she just looks ridiculous. Isabella doesn't have a tough bone in her body. Thanks, Iz, I say. I'll definitely knock on your door if someone messes with me. That makes me think of Bernard. He broke those slides like they were nothing. I hate when people are mean, Isabella says, and grabs some of my baby carrots. He wasn't being mean, Iz, Julia says, and laughs. He was just being funny. Know what I'm saying? Of course we know what you're saying, Jules, I say, nudging her with my shoulder. She raises her eyebrow at me. You're not supposed to say that after. Say what, I ask. When someone says, know what I'm saying, it's not like a real question, Julia explains. It's an expression. Isabella taps me with a carrot. Are you going to tell us who your lab partner is or not? She asks. Bernard. I make my voice go real low. He went off in class today, breaking stuff and knocking his desk over. You have to change lab partners, Isabella squeals. I know, I say, eyes widening. Well, You're doomed, Julia says matter-of-factly, like she's all ready for my funeral. Real helpful, Jules, Isabella says, shaking her head at Julia. Then she looks at me. Maybe Mr. Levy will change partners for each lab. But what if I'm stuck with him, I ask. You said you wanted a boyfriend, Jules says, and then she busts up laughing. You're not even close to funny, Jules. Normally, I don't mind Jules' jokes, but Bernard being my boyfriend, that's as funny as lima beans. Isabella points a carrot at me. It'll be okay. He can't kill you right in the middle of class. For some reason, that's not nearly as comforting as I want it to be. You have carrots stuck in your braces, I tell her. She puts her hand over her mouth. That's funny because her big hazel eyes get even wider than normal. Because what? I ask. Gotta go. Isabella jumps up. Her third period is way on the other side of the school, so she always dashes as soon as the bell rings. I won't see you guys after lunch. She yells over her shoulder. I have an appointment. And then she runs off. Wait, what? I call after her, but she doesn't turn back to answer. Did you know she was leaving school early? I ask Julia. Nope, Julia says. Hey, don't worry about Bernard. I hold my hand up so Julia can help me up, and now I have to go to PE. I groan. Julia yanks me up from the ground, and for just a tiny second, I can imagine flying right over the row of portables and far, far away from PE. So you can kind of see the dynamic between the three friends. It looks like Shayla's the real studious one, and Isabella seems like she's really super sweet and very kind. And Julia seems to have a little bit of an edge to her. She likes to tell jokes. She likes to kid around, even if it's not exactly funny. So the friends, they call themselves the United Nations. And all we know now about Jace is that he said some pretty mean things to Shayla the first day of school. And doesn't even matter to her. She just thinks he's completely gorgeous. So now we're going to move on to chapter 3. It's called 4 Laps. It's not that I hate doing anything active, but in elementary school, PE meant going out on the blacktop in your regular clothes and playing softball or capture the flag. It's a whole different bag of chips in junior high. You have to wear extremely ugly PE clothes that I'm positive someone made just to make sure I would look extra bad. Shiny bright blue shorts are not a good look for me, especially since I had to get a size small on account of me being so skinny. No one wants their shorts falling down, but small shorts are a weird length on me. Too short for baggy basketball and too long for regular shorts. And we have to change into our PE clothes right in front of everyone on our row in the locker room. I figured out right away that the best strategy to change quick so that no one gets a good look at anything? What if my underwear is ripped? What if everybody stares at the tiny pimples on my back? There really should be a law against making kids who are going through puberty undress in public. There should also be a law against going through puberty early. Mama says it's totally normal for a black girl to start earlier with stuff like developing or getting her period and having grown-up bumps. That's what she calls them instead of pimples or acne. Like that's supposed to make me glad to get them. I don't care if it's normal. I'm not happy about any of it. In the locker room, the lockers are in a long row. And there are aisles in between with little benches, so it's easier to change your clothes. I don't know any of the girls on my aisle, and we all try to keep our eyes on our locker or on the floor. At least that's what I'm hoping they're doing. A girl next to me starts getting undressed, and I do a good job of not noticing her pretty panties with the lace and her tiny bra with lots of little hearts. I wore 2 shirts in 4th grade before Mama figured out and bought me a training bra. By 5th grade, I guess I had successfully passed training because Mama bought me a real bra, and then new ones in 6th, and when I went up a size. My bras are not tiny or cute. They're big and white and practical. Yolanda is waiting for me just outside the locker room doors. Her two front teeth are chipped, making a small upside down Y in her smile. It makes it easy to remember her name. We got assigned to be partners for sit-ups on the first day, and now we just partner up all the time. I'm glad about that because I don't know anyone else in my class. She's in my sixth period too, so it's nice. We're like sort of becoming friends. I still haven't gotten used to how much bigger junior high is than elementary school, and how you can be in any class with 30 other kids and not actually know any of them. 5 different elementary schools feed into Emerson, so there's a lot more people. Hi, Yolanda flashes a tiny upside down Y smile. Hi, I say back. Yolanda will be wearing her hair, and I'm usually wrong. She almost always parts it all the way down the middle, making 2 even sections. But then she'll do something different with the sections. Sometimes she braids them. Sometimes it's 1 braid, or sometimes 4 or 6. Sometimes the 2 sections are big, fat curls. Sometimes she connects them together in the back. Once she had just 2 afro puffs. My English teacher, Miss Jacobs, assigned a journal project on the first day of school. We're supposed to write all our observations in it. She calls it our eyeball journal because Ralph Waldo Emerson, the person our school is named for, once said he wanted to be an eyeball. I think that sounds gross. One of the things I always write about is that I observe Yolanda's hair. Today she has 1 tiny braid on each side and the rest in small curls. Cute hair, I tell her. Yolanda puts her hand over her mouth, but I can tell she's got a big grin going on. If she wasn't so brown-skinned, I bet she would be blushing, would be steaming up her cheeks. I hear a loud whistle, and our PE teacher, Coast West, shouts, "Hustle on over." We hustle and take our places on the hash marks on the ground so Coach West can take roll. My PE shorts rise up when I sit down. I pull at them as if I could make them magically grow longer. After roll call and stretches, Coast West yells, "4 laps, everybody," and blows her whistle to get us going. She really likes her whistle. 4 laps around the track equal a mile. In junior high, we run a mile every week, and we're supposed to get faster each time. Logically, there has to be a point when this is physically impossible, but Coach West does not seem to think so. Our track is made out of recycled tires, so it's easier to run on than asphalt. In the middle of the track is our field, and should be green grass, but it's brown because of the drought. The air is heavy, pressing against me, trying to slow me down. Yolanda keeps up with me for the first 2 laps, but by the 3rd one, she just waves me ahead. "Go ahead," she gasps, gripping her side. This is awkward. Should I slow down and stay with her? Would it be mean to leave her gasping alone? How would a friendship manual answer these type of questions? I've never had a black friend before. My sister makes a huge issue out of that, like there's something wrong with me. But I don't get why it's a big deal. There were hardly any other black students at my elementary school, and besides, I had Isabella and Julia. Still, I like Yolanda, and even though we're not quite friends yet, we are friendly, and I don't want to mess it up. Coach West blows her whistle again, and I for sure don't want to get in trouble. So I give Yolanda a little wave and keep running. I'm surprised by how good it feels to run. It's like whatever is circling around in my head bugging me just flies out the wind and gets left behind on the track. Bye-bye, Bernard. So long, big forehead. Half a lap ahead of me, I can see this girl, Carmetta. She's faster than lightning, and all of a sudden I get this wild idea that maybe I can catch her. So I put on the jets and I start running as fast as I can. My heart feels like it's creeping up into my throat, and pain kicks me right in my side. But I don't stop running. I don't even come close to catching Carmetta. But when I finish my mile, Coach West clicks her stopwatch and holds her hand up for me to give her a high five. Smacking my hand against hers makes me feel pretty good. Yolanda doesn't get a high five from Coach. I really don't think she likes running very much. We both head to the water fountain, and I'm wondering if putting deodorant on sweaty pits will keep me from being funky later when Coach West walks over. Shayla, you might not know this, but I'm the track coach. You have a nice form going. I think I could use you. Do you want to join the team? I rub my hands together because my palms are itchy all over. Track? I ask. Coach West nods. Me? I glance over at Yolanda and she gives me a little shrug, but she also smiles, so I think she's okay with Coach West not asking her to join the track team. Yup, Coach West grins at me, waiting for an answer. I want to say no, but Coach West's smile glides over me like sweet syrup and makes my head go up and down. Great, she tells me, and blows her whistle. All right, everybody, I'll see you tomorrow. Yolanda elbows me. Cool, she whispers, making little panting breaths into my ear. I'm positive that track will be many things, but cool isn't one of them. You know what it does sound like? A whole steaming plate of trouble. So here we get to meet Yolanda, who is a black girl in the school and is possibly going to be Shayla's first black friend. And she's very concerned about getting to know her and not making her feel uncomfortable. I think we're learning about Shayla that she really doesn't like any trouble in her life. She wants to just go along without too many people noticing her. That seems to be like it's getting a little bit harder and harder as she's in junior high school. So the next chapter is called Emerson. That's chapter 4. Emerson is the name of the junior high school and the name of the author, Ralph Waldo Emerson. Having English after PE is awful because Miss Jacobs is tough and she hates tardies. So I have to change real quick back into my regular clothes. I don't even have a second to check a mirror to make sure I'm not looking messy before flying into room 218. I've only been late once, and Miss Jacobs gave me a big frown and said not to let that happen again. You bet I haven't. I'm so busy worrying that I might stink from PE and thinking about the potential awfulness of being on the track team that I don't even hear Miss Jacob ask her question the first time. Miss Jacob unclaps a blue dry erase marker, presses the tip to the whiteboard, and looks at the class over her shoulder. I asked, what did everyone find out about Ralph Waldo Emerson? No one raises their hand. And Miss Jacobs snaps the top back onto the marker and faces us. Uh-oh. I start rolling my pencil back and forth between my hands to get them to stop itching. Isn't there anyone who can tell me something about him? Her exasperated voice has become full-on irritated. She beats her hand with the marker, and each tap hits one of her rings. Tap, tap, tap. It's like the ticking of a bomb. I don't want to see Miss Jacobs explode. That tight bun of hers would fly right off of her head. He lived over 100 years ago, I say. And he wrote a whole bunch of essays that are really hard to understand. I try to think of what else. Oh, and our school is named after him. I always do my homework. But I don't want to be one of those know-it-all kids who wave their hand around like they're trying to put out a fire whenever a teacher asks a question. Miss Jacobs writes my 3 things on the board and then looks around the class. No one says anything, but there's a lot of feet shuffling and readjusting in the seats. Anyone else? Miss Jacobs wraps the end of her marker on the whiteboard. Wake up, people! This is your life you're living. You can't sleep through it. Miss Jacobs says stuff like this a lot. She frowns at us and then gives us a little sigh. Shayla is right. He lived in the 1800s and he did quite a bit of writing. She gives me a tiny smile. It can be a bit dense, but I'm surprised you didn't learn he was a passionate abolitionist, Shayla. I slump into my seat and I start picking at a tiny blob of ink stuck on my desk. I hate it when a teacher assumes that just because I'm black, I'll know all about slavery and civil rights and stuff like that. I'm the only black student in the class, so I know everyone is staring at me, trying to see if I have bat wings or hairy armpits, like being black is a whole different species. Living in West Los Angeles means there aren't a whole lot of people who look like me. It was worse in elementary school. At least at Emerson, there are a lot more black kids. There are a lot more of everything in junior high. But you wouldn't know it in my English class. I sink even lower in my seat. Miss Jacobs gives another little sigh and then asks us, "How are everyone's eyeball journals coming along?" I look down and hope someone will volunteer to talk about how wonderful their journal is. My journal is still a whole lot of blank pages and some random observations that don't seem at all interesting. The front of the doors of the school are silver. My sandwich was yummy. Yolanda had 10 braids on each side today. I need better underwear. When no one answers her, Miss Jacobs says, "If you don't have anything to write about, watch the news." There have been a lot of stories lately that are important. Race factoring into police activity is something you should pay attention to. It feels like Miss Jacobs is just talking to me again, and it makes my whole face get red hot. Mama and Daddy were talking last night about how a police officer is going on trial because she shot a black man when he was walking to his car. The video of him getting shot got played over and over online. I sure don't want to observe that anymore. You know, Emerson had a strong belief in the power of the individual. He believed all people were important, no matter what their race. I don't think I can get any lower in my seat. If Miss Jacobs was a television, I'd change the channel. It was pretty radical belief for his time. That type of thinking wasn't popular or well respected by many people back then. Emerson had to be fairly brave to be an abolitionist. I would like to abolish this conversation. So, Miss Jacobs in this chapter seems to expect Shayla to understand everything about black history just because she's black. That is absolutely ridiculous. And that makes Shayla feel super uncomfortable. And for a kid whose hands get itchy every time she feels uncomfortable or attention is drawn to her, I can imagine how upsetting this must feel for Shayla sitting there in the class, the very unartful way that her English teacher went about talking about these important topics. The next and final chapter is chapter 5. It's called Lockers and Lunch. In this chapter, you're going to meet Stacy and Lynn, who are two friends of Julia's. They are on her Asian basketball team. As soon as Miss Jacobs releases us, I shove my way down the crowded hallway to my locker. Lockers are one thing I love about junior high. It might sound funny to say, I love a scratched up piece of bright yellow clanky metal, but I do. I love spinning the little dial, pretending I'm an international jewel thief. And once I get my stuff out or put my stuff in, giving that door a big slam is so satisfying. After I fish out my lunch, I slam the door closed. All up and down the hallway, the sound of lockers slamming rings out. I head outside and I meet up with Julia by the water machines. They used to be soda machines when my sister went there. But the school district got a big anti-sugar kick since then. Where do you think Isabella went? I ask. With best friends, you always know what they're up to. But until today, Isabella didn't breathe one word about leaving early. Probably a doctor's appointment, Julia says. Come on, let's go eat. She whips my arm, making me spin off the walkway, cracking us both up. Julia gives great roller whips. We grab each other's arms and race walk to the lunch area. Outside the gym, A shiny solar overhang shields a bunch of steel blue tables in tidy rows. It's where kids who brought lunch. If you buy, you go sit in the cafeteria. Isabella, Julia, and I always bring, so we sit right in the overhang area. I like eating outside. Cafeterias stink. Too many food smells all blending together. Fish stick burritos, yuck. It's weird for it to be just me and Julia at lunch. And it's even weirder when instead of heading to our normal lunch table, Julia stops at a table with a bunch of girls she knows from her Asian basketball league and her church. She had wanted to sit there on the first day of school, but I told her I just wanted it to be us, the United Nations. What I didn't say was that I actually feel really awkward with Isabella and me being the only girls who weren't Asian, because it seems like the wrong thing to say even if it was true. I just walk over to an empty table, and that's where we've been sitting ever since. I don't know why Julia thinks we should change where we sit today just because Isabella isn't here, but it makes my hands itchy all over to keep standing there when the girls are already squeezing over to make room for Julia and me. One of the girls at the table is Stacy Chin. Everybody knows Stacy. She's really popular. She has a loud laugh and an even louder voice. Stacy always wears a lot of glittery eye makeup, and her black hair is streaked with bright magenta highlights. With her spaghetti strap top and low-cut shorts, she is basically like a walking violation of the Emerson dress code. The dress code is printed right in the handbook, and they mail it out over the summer. It's hard to wear spaghetti strap tops with a bra, so I don't mind that there's a rule against them. And no way would my parents let me wear short shorts to school or anywhere. But making sure skirts go past your fingertips seems dumb, because there's nothing cute about skirts that long. And not being able to wear a solid red or solid blue is really a pain. It's supposed to be a gang violence thing. But since blue is one of our school's color, not being able to wear it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Obviously, Stacy isn't worried one bit about being in trouble for what she's wearing. And the girl can talk. Like the seagulls that fly around the lunch tables trying to steal someone's sandwich, Stacy is all squawk, squawk, squawk. Bro, she says to Julia, can you believe Mr. Milton got all loud at me in history? I was about to go off on him. She laughs and grabs a bunch of Cheetos from the girl next to her and shoves them into her mouth. Then she makes gagging noises. Gross, Lynn. Your Cheetos are stale. Stacy throws a Cheeto at Lynn, and Lynn bats it back at her. These teachers need to know what's up. Know what I'm saying? Lynn rolls her eyes, and I really try hard not to roll mine. Julia gives me a look like she's trying to warn me not to say anything. At least I know better than to say, no, I don't know what you're saying. So my mom's said I already had blue Vans, but these were totally different, Stacy says, kicking her leg out to show off her shoes. Like, I had to have these kicks, right? I totally got Pops to get them. You know how Pops are? It's hard to keep up with Stacy. I wonder if she just opens up her mouth and waits to see what random things are going to fly out. All of a sudden, a girl at the next table shouts, "Command!" And we all turn to see who got caught. Almost everyone at Emerson is playing this game called Command. The rules are, you have to keep something crossed all of the time, like your fingers or legs. If someone catches you uncrossed, they can command you to do whatever they want, or they'll pound you. I'm not playing. Who wants to play a game where you can be commanded to do anything? Just call that game Itchy Hands. It feels like I'm the only person in our whole school that doesn't want to play, and that's cool with me. It's easy to tell who got caught because a few tables over, a girl's face is getting redder and redder while her friend whispers in her ear. Daddy talks a lot about what he calls white privilege. But if you ask me, Getting so red that everyone can tell you're embarrassed is no kind of privilege. Her blush makes her look like someone scribbled all over her face with a red marker. Blush Girl slowly walks over to the table full of boys, stands up in front of them and says, I think you're really cute, she says in a trembly voice. The whole table of boys starts cracking up, and Blush Girl runs back to her friends and buries her face in her hands. That's all kinds of wrong, I mutter. That's all kinds of hilarious, you mean, Stacy says, clapping her hands like it was a great show. We should totally command somebody to do something crazy. She nudges Julia's arm. It's not going to be me, Julia says. I'll always have something crossed. And she holds up her hands. All her fingers are crossed over each other. It looks like some of her fingers are broken. I didn't say it was going to be you, Stacy says, raising her eyebrow. But I'm going to get somebody. I shrug. Well, I'm not even playing. Oh, yeah? Stacy asks, like she's daring me to something. And I get a bad feeling. A bad, itchy hand feeling. You're so mean, Stace, Lynn says. You need to quit. Her long black hair is so shiny and pretty, it's like she polished it with Windex. Then she gives me a big smile. I smile right back at her like we're sharing a joke. Stacy ignores us and starts talking about how boring her computer elective is. And then everyone starts talking about their electives and how fun or awful they are. Electives are probably the thing I was looking forward to the most about junior high. In elementary, you don't get to pick a class just because you like it. You don't really get to pick anything in elementary school. Julia is in chorus, Isabella is in art, and I'm pretty sure Julia's mom made her take chorus, but Isabella loves everything creative. What's your elective, Lynn asks me. Shop, I say. Julia grins at me and I know what's coming. But you don't even like shopping, she says. Ha ha, Stacy cracks up like it's the best joke ever. I thought it was funny too, like the first time that Julia said it. My elective is actually called Industrial Arts. And of course it has nothing to do with shopping. At least you get to be around Tyler, Julia says. That's not funny, that's mean. Quit it, Julia, I say. Tyler is a boy in shop with me, and Julia knows how irritating I think he is. Woo, Stacy says. Who's this Tyler? Nobody, I say, giving Julia a warning look. Julia looks at me like, oops. I know she's just trying to be funny, but I'm going to have to tell her later to save that for when it's just us. A few of the girls start talking about their latest basketball game and how tough practice is going to be tonight. Usually when people talk about sports, I don't have anything to say. But now I realize I actually do. I think I might join track team, I offer. Really? Julia sounds shocked. She knows I'm not very coordinated. But come on, I can run at least. Yes, is all I say. Not only am I going to do track, I'm going to be awesome at it. After lunch, Julia and I walk together to our next class. She turns to me and touches my arm. Hey, it's cool you're going to be all athletic now. Maybe next you'll start playing basketball. Then she cracks up. Yeah, I'll sign right up to play on the Tigers, I joke. When Julia first told me that you had to be Asian to play on her basketball league, it really hurt my feelings. It seemed like people who made the league were saying they didn't want me to play with them. But Daddy told me it wasn't about keeping me out. It was about lifting up the kids who played in the league. He made me watch some basketball games with him and count all the Asian players. The day we watched, I did not see one, so I got it after that. Isabella and I have gone to watch Julia's team play a few times. Julia is really quick and makes a bunch of three-pointers. I think she's actually their best player. You're not so funny. I can't stand him and you know it. I know. I'm sorry. I was just messing around, Julia says. You know me. She grabs my arm and gives me a roller whip. It's hard to stay mad when you're spinning around, and all I can do is laugh. Text me later, Julia says, as we go our separate ways. I'll text you after I go shopping, I call after her and smile. You know, I can be funny too. So we're starting to see a little dynamic here. Julia wanting to break off or get involved with the other Asian girls at school. And that seems to make Shayla feel a little bit uncomfortable. But I think Shayla is kind of the type of person who's bound to feel uncomfortable in almost any social situation. So that's chapter 1 through 5. Now you should go on into Google Classroom and read all the different summaries I wrote and then answer the question below the summary. Thanks a lot for listening.